Welcome to the Church of Jesus Christ. Welcome to the Tuesday Nighters, even as it was prayed in our opening prayer tonight. Welcome to the book club, and welcome to this variation of that, the suggestion box. Our book club is 125 weeks in. Our suggestion box is 49 weeks in, which means we are coming to our first full year of book clubbing or of suggestion box. And forgive that I didn't update it to Alma 19 on that slide. Alma 19 is one chapter. Alma 19 is 36 verses. Alma 19 is 1,733 words. Before we jump to 19, we've done 17 and we've done 18, which was 3 weeks ago and 6 weeks ago with 17. So I thought I'd just do a quick sweep of what that was, because that truly lays it out for this 19th and final chapter that we'll do in this series in Alma. So Alma and the four sons of Messiah reconnected. They celebrated that reunion together, and in that togetherness, they studied, they fasted, they prayed, they prepared, and they planned to go back to work. When they felt strong enough, when they felt God inspired, when they felt ready to go to work, they separated. And what that means is, while apart, they took the message out times 5. Rather than just one group going from city to city, they did it times 5. So this was 5 times the rewards, 5 times the efforts, 5 times the touches, and it's a great plan. And what they purposed in was to bring the word to those needing salvation. Now, we followed specifically Ammon, who reached King Lamoni. I didn't go through the back and forth of him getting captured, him getting imprisoned, him being enslaved, him choosing to serve, all of that. I just made point that Ammon connected with King Lamoni, and the result was the king was converted, convicted, and comatose. And that's about where we ended with Alma 18. The after effects, just as a commentary, were very similar to what Saul of Tarsus was going to experience 120, 125 years later. Okay, so we're caught up. Okay, now let's jump to 19. And I'm doing this almost shotgun approach because I think you guys want to deep dive into this chapter with your own comments. I didn't want to steal too much from that. The queen, remember, we have the king down and prone. He is as if he were dead. Ammon, or the queen, called for Ammon, hearing that he was a man of God, and she called for him to find out if he felt her husband had passed. And there's a great back and forth. In fact, tonight, as I was coming downstairs, Candace said to me, it was one of her favorite parts, where she said she wanted Ammon to check on him because the people said that the king had even started to stink. He had been down for 2 days and maybe had started to change. And she said, but she didn't think so. So she wanted Ammon to check. And I love that Candace zeroed in on that. I found a lot of those kind of verses in there that were like, wow, that's really a great way to say that. So having said that, Ammon said he was willing to check. However, Ammon knew that King Lamoni was alive. He knew that King Lamoni was within what he called the veil of unbelief. Ammon knew that the king was being changed by God's marvelous light. And that's that 6th verse, I think. I think it was the 6th verse that Brother Dwayne referenced before he played his song. Ammon knew that God's power had infused such joy into his soul. His, the pronoun his, referencing King Lamoni. And finally, Ammon knew that God's light had lit up King Lamoni's soul and overcome his natural frame. So he was prone because of the Spirit of God. Now, what Ammon discovered in his back and forth with the queen was she also had found faith in God. She believed. So he assured her that her husband would rise the very next day. And he asked her if she believed, and she said she believed. So she stayed with her husband by his side all night until the very time he was to get up the next day. What did he do at that time specified by Ammon? He arose. And he testified. And he told that while he was in this condition, that he saw the Savior. And both the king now and the queen were overcome by God's Spirit. God even had more stirring to do because he poured his Spirit out over the Lamanite people. Now, when this happened, a woman named Abish, who was defined or described as a Lamanitish woman, had been a secret convert from before, living without telling anyone of her conversion. By the way, I'm hoping someone else zeroed in on Lamanitish, and I hope we're going to discuss that at least for a moment. If anyone has any clarity on that, maybe my favorite word I've ever read in the word, but we'll move on. She stopped at this point hiding her faith, and she began to run from house to house to house, testifying of all she had experienced herself and all that she had just witnessed in the stirring of the king and the queen. The hearers who listened to her testimony came to see what was going on. Some came to harm. And in fact, one came to kill. He came to take the life of Ammon. And he was stopped, never to take a breath again. The excitement and the events that were going on in this chapter, I found mesmerizing. Those who were witnessing all of this were simply baffled. After seeing all of this, remember, this is the first time they're being touched by God. They don't know what this is, and they began to wonder if Ammon was godly, a man of God, or was he a monster? And the word monster is found in this 19th chapter. So Abish that's a woman who was Lamanitish, stepped up once again. When the queen had fallen, she touched the queen arose, and the queen began to testify. It says she spoke, and I took that with wonderment, was that tongues that they were describing. We'll let you all talk about that if you wish to, and we can decide in that conversation. In this time period, the queen grabbed the king's hand. And he arose. He saw his people rebelling. He saw what was the stir that was going on, and he rebuked them, and then he calmed them. And then he testified to all he had experienced. Some of those people who heard him heard with their hearts. Some of those people who heard them with their ears walked out. Ammon then arose himself, and he spoke. And then the word says that different people began to comment and testify. So I thought that a popcorn testimony broke out spontaneously as all of this took place. Hearts were changed. Visions of angels were had. People, it said, spoke with the angels. All of this spontaneity resulted in clarity. People were baptized. People were changed. People were converted. And a church was established. The work of God had begun, all because a king fell down. And so it seems that this area, this part of the world, was on a great roll, and that roll was inspired by following the inspiration of God. When we do that, the greatness of God takes place. Just all we have to do is not get in the way of his intentions. When that's done, his will is done. And when I say his will is done, I mean both accomplished and completed to all that he intended.